Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. In the previous video, we implemented our Friends UI and we discovered the features related to OSS Friends. Today, we want to discover the presence part of the OSS. The presence of a player is an object containing all the information on the state of the player, such as his status, if he is online or not. Also, other information such as his last seen is playing this game, and also his customized message defined, for example, he is in-game, in lobby, away from keyboard, etc. If you look in the OSS friend structure, you will see a substructure named Presence Info. This is the structure containing all the information we have just mentioned. Note that this structure is returned by the Friends interface, and that it depends on the target OSS. So not all OSS return all the information of this structure via the Friends interface. You can take a look at each element of this structure to see the elements that you can display in your game. In this tutorial, I will only use the status element of this structure. This structure contains the status str, which represents the message defined by the player, the state, which is an enum of the current present status, and a map of properties defined by the player. To do a quick test, I want to display the present state of a friend when the delete button is clicked. So for now I will disconnect the pin and connect it to the print node. As you see, the status of player 2 is offline. Now I want to authenticate player 2 to see the result again. As you see, when both players are online, the present status has changed to online. What I want to do now is to add the present status in the Friend Item widget. Just follow me to do it. For now, the status str is empty. We will see later how to use it, but I will add it in the UI anyway. What I have shown you so far is access to the player presence via the Friends interface. However, to work with the user presence, you have to do it via the Presence interface. From this interface, you can update the local player's presence and view the presence info of other players. But before you start, you need to do some configuration in your project. It's not required for EOS, but for other OSS like Steam, you need to do it. Go to Project Settings, then Packaging. Look for Internationalization Support, then set it to All. Go to Tools, then to Localization Dashboard. In this dashboard, you need to specify to your project where to gather text for localization. If your project has C++ code, therefore a folder named Source, in this case you must specify it in your project. In this case, check Gather from Text Files, then add the source folder as follows. In my project, I don't have source code, so I will delete the entry. Then check the Gather from Packages box, and then add an entry for the content folder as follows. In the Cultures section, you have to add at least one language. In my case, I will just use English. Now click on Gather Text and wait for the process to finish. Once finished, click on Compile Text and wait for the process to complete. Once done, you can close the window. Now everything is ready to start using the Presence interface. Go back to the Friend Item widget to add the Presence status and the customized Presence message. Just follow me. I will now update the two new texts. For now, I will use the friend interface to add the values. Now I will test my implementation. As you see, everything works as expected. The friend's custom message is empty because this player does not have it defined yet. To use the features of the Presence interface, right-click and search for the word Presence. You will find the features provided by Easy OSS concerning user presence. The node query OSS player's presence takes as parameter a list of user IDs to then contact the OSS backend to obtain their presence info and store them in the cache. When you query player presence, you can call the node getCached_OSS player presence to get a player's presence info from the cache. The node update OSS player presence contacts the OSS backend to update the local player presence info. The node getCached_OSS player presence for app does the same thing as the getCached presence of player, except that it takes an additional argument, which is the app ID. I will now query the friend's presence in the Friends widget. So each time the widget is updated, there will be a query to update the cache. To make sure the query works well, I will first update the presence of the local player. It is not the right place to do it, but it is just to show you the process. I will change the present state to Do Not Disturb, and create a custom message to show for players. I will test my implementation. As you see, when I open the Friends UI, the update presence works well for Player 1. We can check it by opening the external Friends UI. As you see, Player 1's status has changed from online to Do Not Disturb. Also, the custom message in Lobby is displayed. And there you have it. Player 2 can see the custom message of Player 1, however, his status is still online. It depends on each OSS how it manages the Friends presence. For this, it is recommended to go through the Presence interface instead of the Friend interface to collect the presence information. Furthermore, for the EOS subsystem, the social overlay display the customized message only for local player. For this, it is advised to implement your own Friends UI in the game. I want to start the query process now. To do this, I need a list containing the Friends' unique IDs to give as a parameter to the query node. Loop throw the Friends list to add the user ID of each friend in the created list. When the loop is finished, and the list will have all the Friends' IDs, call the query node giving it the list of IDs. In the Friend Item widget, change the values of the two texts to assign it from the cached presence info of friend. I will run a test now on 2 authenticated players to verify the implementation. We can clearly see that the present state is still online. whereas it should be Do Not Disturb. This is because EOS currently has a bug when we query the presence of the friend, so the cache has not been updated. Anyway, this is the process to follow to obtain the presence of a player. If you see an expected result, it means that the bug has been fixed. You see in the logs that the query started well, but the EOS backend did not return a callback, so the cache was not updated. If you have the same problem, follow me to use an alternative solution. I want to remove the implementation via getting the presence from the Get Cached node. I will place the Update Presence node in the right place. It depends on your game. In my case, I will automatically change the user's custom message when the login process completes. Here, I want to place the Update Presence node. It's convenient to call it every time you change level. Of course, changing the message describing the player's state depending on the opened level. Now go to your game instance. We will bind an event related to the presence interface. There are two types of events that the OSS can trigger when a player's presence changes. The event onPresenceArray updated fires when a player's presence changes. It returns the user ID and his array of updated presence info. This event does not fire by EOS. You can test it anyway. The onPresenceReceived event fires when the OSS has updates regarding player presence to give to the local player. It returns the player's user ID and his presence info. We will use this event to update the presence in our UI for our friends. Create a variable and name it PresenceInfo. It will be a map of user ID and his presence info received. We will store the presence info for each player in this variable when the event returns new updates. We must check if the user already has a key in this variable. In this case, we will update it. Otherwise, we will add a new entry to this map. Anyway, this check is not required because the add node of the map overrides the value of an existing key. I will organize the code and collapse it into a function. I now add a print string and run a test to show you that this delegate works well. As you see, when the OSS notices that the friends have changed status, he sends a delegate to inform each player of these updates. I now need to access this map from outside the game instance to use it in the widget and update the texts, so I will use the blueprint interface of the game instance. Add a new function and name it getPresencesinfo. It must return a map, while the key is a string, and the value is of type OSS Presencesinfo. Return to the game instance and implement this function, giving it as output our Presencesinfo map. Go back to the friend item widget and call the function of the game instance that we just implemented. We must check if this friend is in the map. In this case, we display in the UI the last update received for him. I will run a test to verify the implementation. We see for the moment that player 2 is offline and that he does not have a customized message. I will authenticate player 2 and see what happens. And there you have it. We have the correct presence defined by player 2. The status is Do Not Disturb, as well as the custom message. We see that the status has returned to online again. This is because of a limitation in EOS. It resets the status to online on the next tick of the delegate. So each OSS has its own way of handling presence. What interests me is to show you how to use the easy OSS plugin to get a player's presence info. Conclusion: the best solution to get the presence info of a player is via the query then the get presence info from cache. Anyway, it is enough for me to know if the player is online or offline for EOS. You can still get more information from the presence structure. For me, I will not add more info in the UI. That's all for today. See you in the next video.